Welcome back, this is Seafish 4K, let's get into it. This is Starfield Shattered Space Deep Dive. Before we begin, I'm going to try to be as positive as I can about this, but well, I'm not going to be negative, it's just that we all know Starfield isn't doing so hot, even despite all the updates. It's not Concord bad, but it's still not up to par with a basic Bethesda game. There's a number of reasons for that, but we won't go into those here. Instead, let's focus on what this video explains. Hopefully, Shattered Space will fix a lot of the problems. I've watched only a few minutes of this, and I was like, okay, let me just record the rest of it and let you guys have my opinion on it. Starfield does have nice
Hey everyone,
music,
thanks for joining us today. It's been an incredible journey since Starfield launched last year. I want to thank all of you for making it the biggest launch in Bethesda Game Studios history. Your continued support and feedback drive us to making Starfield the best experience possible. Since launch, we've added new features, technical enhancements, fresh content, and the newly released Rev 8, Starfield's first ever land vehicle. Now we're expanding.
Funny story about that. Apparently, Todd said that he didn't really design, the team didn't really design the game to have any vehicles in it. And I thought, you know what? I understand that for games like Fallout or a game like Elder Scrolls, but this is a futuristic sci-fi universe. You gotta have something here other than just being on your foot, because being on your foot's fine at the beginning of the game, but at a certain point you just want to get to places. And the fast travel system is nice, but the fast travel system is also very immersion breaking. Like, developers don't really realize that, but fast travel breaks immersion for a lot of people. I'm okay with fast travel some of the times when I just want to get to a quest and get it done. But fast traveling to every single location I go to kind of destroys the joy of exploring, the joy and fun of doing things in the game. It's sort of just like, okay, paint by the numbers moment. 1, 2, 3. Let's hurry on. Let's get this done.
Galaxy with a brand new, completely handcrafted world and deep new storyline. This September, we're launching Starfield's first major expansion, Shattered Space. Today,
I noticed you used a hold on.
Shattered Space. Today,
I noticed you're using footage from a gun.
September, we're launching Starfield.
Yeah. Those are the particle guns. I want to talk about this for a second here as well. The Starfield gun variety, when it comes to ballistics, is pretty good. For the other guns, not so much. For laser weapons, you only get 3 laser weapons. Particle weapons, you get a few variations of... Not really. You get Varun and you get regular. That's it. You don't get no interesting laser weapons or anything like that. You don't even have like a laser... Well, you have a mining laser. I was about to say you don't get any laser heavy weapons, but you get a mining laser. You don't get a particle heavy weapon. There's so many things that you don't get with this game.
Field's first major expansion, Shattered Space. Today, we're giving you the first look at the mysterious homeworld of Palpatine.
I'm trying to be positive, but you know, it's weird.
It's for Rue. So let's dive in and explore.
Because I know the biggest flaws in the game. I think we all do. Let's give it a fair chance. Let's try and be fair about it. Even though it costs $100 on this.
Was written among the stars. The great serpent tells us there is nothing to fear. At least, not for those who walk the path. You will rise. prized as Varun.
Particle weapons didn't have a heavy variant. I think they just had a
We love
particle
Starfield's
rifle.
massive open galaxy, but from early on in our planning, we knew we wanted to introduce a more secluded and handcrafted location, similar to what we've seen from our past expansions. There's so much mystery to House Faroon, and because they've so thoroughly isolated themselves, it made them the perfect faction to explore in a completely self-contained experience.
And so you arise, one of the promised of...
Some of this looks potentially good. But I'm not... I don't want to say, oh, it looks nice. Alright, Starfield didn't lack... well, actually it did. It severely lacked in interesting locations. So this is at least solving one of the issues, the lack of interesting locations.
of House Varun.
From the minute you arrive on Varun Kai, the story
Varun
never
Kai.
sends you off planet. You're free to leave at any time, but the story is fully centered around life on the Varun home.
I see that plasma.
Everything you
that particle
discover,
weapon, yeah.
every
I say
location you
plasma
visit,
weapon,
every
but-
side mission you seek out, it all tells the story of what happened here and how the
I don't see any
Varun
new
people
guns.
survived, cut off from the comforts of the settled systems
Like, I just
and the
wanna
rest of
say-
humanity.
You really need to get new guns. You really... Bethesda, you need new guns. You were given a lot... You were afforded a lot of luxury, and that your previous successes kind of blinded people a little bit to what you were doing. But as time has gone on, the honeymoon phase has worn off on Starfield, and it's gotten really bad for you. So I strongly, and I repeat, strongly suggest that you, for your next DLC, hopefully you have another DLC, that you ask that you listen to your communities and put more effort into making different varieties of weapons, different sort of tools and stuff like that in the game, because right now people want, also they want more ground vehicles. You're gonna have to make more ground vehicles. The Rev 8 is a good start. Notice I said start. So I would suggest you put more effort into making it much more appealing to audiences across the board, shall you?
Vindicator, Harbinger, Reverend.
Promised. One of our main themes throughout the base game is humanity's search for knowledge. Shattered Space is still about that search, but it's also about what happens when it goes too far. It's a very extreme pursuit, and it has backfired horribly for the people of House Faroon.
My brother Qasim has been missing for days. I'm beginning to worry
Qasim.
that something terrible has happened to him.
Oh, what was that? That's the horror thing. Oh, look at that. Looks like a monster.
Before the start of Shattered Space, a secret experiment involving grav drive technology went terribly wrong.
I could imagine.
It resulted in a massive tear in the fabric of space-time that swallowed a significant portion of the Varun capital of Dazra. You arrived just a few weeks after the Vortex incident. It's still very fresh in everyone's minds. There's a massive crater in their city, nothing has been reconstructed, people are still searching for missing loved ones.
Supplies are limited. There is so much work to be done.
The Scaled Citadel, the seat of power for the Varun government, is now trapped within a strange field of energy. Among those missing is Anasco Varun, leader of the Varun people and speaker for the Great Serpent. In his absence, the minor houses that make up House Varun are all vying for control over the faction's future.
Really?
Zealots were once a part of Varun society.
I actually like the fact that they're having a faction thing going on. Will it have interesting gameplay mechanics? That's a issue that they'll might address in this video. I'm curious. I'm very curious about that. Like this is a good opening for Bethesda to work and get that crowd back.
They want to continue the Serpent's crusade. They'll demand an inordinate amount of credits or firearms. Worst case, a seat at the High Council, or even the reinstatement of their house.
Combat's pretty good. I mean, there are a few things that was decent about it.
All must serve. All must serve. All must serve. Set me free. All must serve. Save me.
Varun Kai and Dazra City are like no other location in the base game.
From its inception, House Varun has been driven by a singular, unique vision. Because of this, Varun Kai has a completely distinct visual identity. We say it's very alien. You'll see this in the extraterrestrial landscape, gravity anomalies, and much more.
Interesting. That could be fascinating to explore.
Varun Kai is located in the Kabnik system, and it's not the friendliest environment. They believed the Great Serpent led them to Varun Kai, and their whole purpose in being here is to await its return.
You have no concept of what the Great Serpent demands of us. All must serve.
It's a dangerous planet, and a lot of the people have retreated to Dazra in order to survive and protect their culture and their way of life. Now you'll find areas of the planet that were abandoned and have since been taken over by Zealots, Spacers, and Crimson Fleet. And humans aren't the only dangers in the Badlands of the planet. With the line between reality and the vortex breaking down, creatures from the other side can slip through, like the vortex horror. When you disturb the barrier between our world and theirs, they can sense it, creating these honestly terrifying ambush scenarios.
In the base game, there's a lot of focus around ranged gun combat. You can engage in a firefight from way in the distance. In Shattered Space, we're closing that distance. Space is scary.
Do you have good melee finishers? Do you have that available? Because Skyrim had that, and I think I don't think Fallout had that. Fallout 4, but it was pretty good with the VATS. But yeah, do you have that for the game? I don't think.
Part of getting that across is amping up the aggression and the chaos of combat.
Yeah. Are you giving a free update with this game as well? Is the rest of the game going to play like this? There's a lot of people aren't going to get Shattered Space. What? Oh, you got a new weapon. That's cool. I like that weapon.
As you explore the city of Dazra and the surrounding planet, you'll learn the truth of what happened, become entangled in the political feud between the minor houses, and ultimately decide the fate of House Varun, a fate that could affect the rest of the settled systems.
We can restore the intended order of things.
Thank you for joining us for a closer look at Shattered Space. We worked hard to make this a journey you won't forget. We're incredibly grateful for your support and passion. Stay tuned for more updates as we head toward launch on September 30th.
Well, I gotta say, it did look better than I thought. Hold on, was that a flash of a new? Does that be? Oh, that's not a red. I did see a new sword in that mix too.
You won't forget. We're incredibly grateful for your support and passion. Space. We worked hard to make this a journey you won't.
Yeah, they got new armors too. I haven't seen that.
Forget. We're incredibly grateful for your support and passion. Stay tuned for more updates as we head toward launch on September 30th.
Yeah, there's a new sword there. I see it's like a cutlass almost.
On September 30th.
I recommend it. I recommend that they add new weapons to the game. I don't recommend you guys buy it early access because not until like people give their reviews or their opinions on it. Like, and I mean like people you trust. I mean places like IGN and GameSpot, their credibility has been shot over the years. So I don't know how well you can trust them to give a good review on this that you would like. Like, there's been a lot of 7 out of 10s that people have straight up disagreed with on IGN. Which is fair, because let's be honest, a lot of this is subjective. But at the end of the day, there is still a mass movement towards one way or another. Like, overall, people did not like Starfield. So, this DLC has got to make up a lot of lost ground with its player base. And Bethesda has a player base they need to please, because it's literally... Okay, the way people get into a new game is they're ushered into it by the people who've been playing it already. By people who are already into the niche. Like, people who are into Skyrim and Fallout 4, they were like, yeah, you should totally try Starfield. Then on the day of release, yeah, you shouldn't try Starfield. It was not good. And if they're not pleased, you... Like, I only got into something because a lot of people said it was good. Like, there's very rarely like that Gothic game. I've been looking at the remake, and people who've been making comments of it, yeah, you gotta try the first Gothic. I know it's old, but it's still pretty good. You gotta play. And I got into it recently, and I was like, yeah, this is pretty fun. I enjoyed it. I cannot tell you how difficult it is for someone to, for a game or like a piece of, or any piece of media, to get in a new audience and they haven't pleased the old audience or at least found some kind of audience. Like, it's very difficult to find a new audience if your old audience isn't pleased with what you've done. Like, for instance, the Shift, the One Piece adaptation on Netflix is a perfect example of this. The One Piece fans sang its praises by watching it and said it was good. So, everybody, and I mean everybody, flooded in and started watching the One Piece live action because of that. Now, let's look at the opposite of that. Cowboy Bebop. Cowboy Bebop, I didn't see the Netflix adaptation, but I did know the anime, and like everyone who would watch the anime that I'd known of didn't like it. They said it was just okay, or worse, it was terrible. And as a result, like, nobody watched it. It didn't get a season 2. Meanwhile, One Piece is getting a season 2, and I think it's going to get a season 3, 4, 5, 6. You know. It might just follow the entire anime if they play their cards right. So, Shattered Space needs to be good. Not just for the people who came in on to Starfield and or only interested in playing Starfield, or people who are like Bethesda games. It has to be good. So good that it makes them want to recommend it to people. Yeah, you gotta play Starfield and you gotta play Shattered Space. Like, you can't just have a good update with just Shattered Space content only. You gotta update the entirety of Starfield as well, because you need the entire game to be good to draw people in. I don't dismiss the idea that the game is probably just going to be bad and it's probably just going to wash our hands of it. I don't dismiss that idea, but at the same time, I don't want to give up on this game, because I do think that it has potential. I do think it's pretty solid in some parts, but they didn't realize who they were making the game for, and as a result, it suffered for that when it was launched. Not all at once, but gradually, after the honeymoon period wore off, after like a couple of... I keep saying the honeymoon period. What I mean by that is, when a game is launched, it's loved for at least a few weeks. But after those few weeks go all away, then it has to stand on its own merit. Oh, yeah, it doesn't have good gameplay, it doesn't have good storyline, doesn't have a good presentation, and stuff like that. Now, some games don't have a honeymoon period. They're just considered bad right off the start. Star Wars Outlaws is kind of an example of that. It didn't have a honeymoon period, and the reason it didn't have a honeymoon period was people saw those trailers, and they didn't look that good, and a lot of people decided to shell out money for that, and plus the price point was way too expensive. That was not a AAA game or quadruple A game. That was a double A game at best. I mean, yeah. Moving on. Starfield can make a comeback, but it needs to realize, Bethesda needs to realize that this update, this upcoming gameplay, this upcoming DLC / update, it needs to be an update for the whole game, might be their last chance to bring people back in. Like, if they haven't realized that, I don't know what to tell them past this, because it's going to be rough. You might be able to get another DLC. You might make a really good DLC that brings people back. But Cyberpunk didn't get people back because of Phantom Liberty. It got people back because of Edge Runners. Like, and the Fallout show might help them a little bit in this department, but they gotta have a good follow-up. They gotta have a good update. They gotta have good DLC. They gotta have a good marketing campaign for it. A lot of things gotta fall into place. Like, they still have time to make something wonderful here that would save this game. I know they said they promised to make a long-standing development of Starfield and add a new DLC, free DLC, and stuff like that. But I always say this, plans change all the time. Plans always change. A lot of people who got married a few years ago said, like, yeah, we will be together forever. And they get divorced like 2 months later and are on non-speaking terms with each other. Like, plans change. People become different. World becomes different. What have you. Anyway. That's it. Thank you so much for stopping by. If you could hit that like button, subscribe button, and leave a comment giving your opinion on the Starfield Shattered Space. Do you think I'm right? Do you think I'm wrong? Are you really not sure about it at the moment? Whichever is fair, just let me know what you think. I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.